The location is Nairobi, Kenya. The year 2024. The city carries over 5 million people, very vibrant and restless. But beneath the surface of this capital, a shadow had been growing, a nightmare that will shock a nation already reeling from tragedy and political chaos. This is the story of Collins Jumaisi Khalusha, better known by the chilling moniker assigned by the very police who hunted him, the vampire killer. It's a tale of brutal, ritualistic murders, a confession to killing dozens of women, and a spectacular, scandalous escape from police custody that exposed deep, festering wounds within the country's security apparatus. The sheer volume of his alleged crimes was horrific, the ritualistic nature of his methods unspeakable, but it was the institutional failure surrounding his eventual arrest and escape that turned a singular crime story into a national crisis, a crisis that demanded and still demands accountability. The horrors first surfaced in July 2024 in the Kware area of the Mukuru slums on the outskirts of Nairobi. This community lives daily with poverty and neglect, but nothing could have prepared them for the grim discovery made near an abandoned flooded quarry used as a local dump site. Over a few terrifying days, investigators began pulling plastic bags from the site. These were not just your typical plastic bags. They were carefully wrapped sacks containing the dismembered and mutilated remains of women. Initial counts quickly rose. 10 butchered bodies or portions thereof were discovered. The panic was immediate. The forensic pathologist who examined the remains confirmed the brutality. Torsos, several limbs, and only one body found intact. There were no bullet wounds, but signs of strangulation and ritualistic violence led authorities to conclude they were dealing with a deeply disturbed individual. The media quickly latched onto the case, and public outcry demanded immediate answers. Who was targeting Nairobi women, and why? But a disturbing detail fueled early public mistrust. The dump site, the quarry where the bodies were so brazenly discarded, was located just over 100 meters from a local police post. For 2 years, the time frame of the murders, police had seemingly failed to notice or act upon a serial killer operating virtually on their doorstep. This established the first crack in the trust between the public and the police, setting the stage for the even greater scandal to come. The breakthrough came quickly. Facilitated by modern technology, detectives traced a mobile phone belonging to one of the victims, leading them directly to 33-year-old Collins Jumaisi Khalusha. He was reportedly a former motorcycle taxi driver, arrested in the early hours of July 15, 2024, while allegedly trying to lure his next victim. What followed was a stunning and unprecedented announcement from the head of the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Mohammed Amin. He described the suspect in terms that shocked the nation: a psychopathic serial killer with no respect for human life, a vampire. The police claimed that under interrogation, Collins Juma had confessed to an unbelievable number of victims, 42 women. His killing spree, he allegedly claimed, began with his own wife in 2022, whose remains he also disposed of at the Mukuru quarry. Detectives confirmed they found a cache of tools at his single-room residence near the site: a machete, industrial rubber gloves, rolls of rope, and the distinct plastic sacks used to package the remains. The brutality was meticulous, the confession staggering. But even as the nation breathed a temporary sigh of relief that a monster had been caught, doubt began to surface. During his first court appearance, Juma's lawyer, John Ndegwa, vehemently argued that his client was innocent, claiming the confession had been coerced through torture and mistreatment by the police. The court granted the police an initial detention period, allowing time for DNA testing and further investigation into the dozens of unidentified remains. The question of whether the police had their man or whether they were simply trying to close a politically embarrassing case hung heavy in the air. To understand the true weight of the Collins Juma scandal, one must consider the climate in Kenya during the summer of 2024. The country was already reeling. Weeks of massive youth-led protests against proposed tax hikes had been met with aggressive police force, leading to numerous deaths and disappearances. Furthermore, the trauma of the Shakahola Forest massacre, where a cult leader was accused of inciting hundreds of followers to starve to death, was still fresh. In this environment, institutional trust was at an all-time low. When the bodies were found near a police station, and when police announced a massive, unprecedented confession, many citizens feared the case might be a distraction or, worse, linked to the wider issue of enforced disappearances. Independent bodies, including the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, launched parallel investigations to rule out police complicity in the killings or a failure to prevent them. The police force itself was under intense international scrutiny. The custody of Collins Juma, the so-called vampire killer, was therefore not just a matter of justice, it was a matter of national security and institutional credibility. On the morning of August 20th, 2024, approximately 35 days after the arrest of the vampire killer, the fragile trust holding the police force together completely shattered. Collins Juma was being held at the high-security Gigiri police station, a station located in one of Nairobi's most upmarket districts, home to the United Nations regional headquarters and numerous foreign embassies. This was a facility designed to uphold the highest standard of security. At around 5 a.m., officers went to serve breakfast to the detainees. What they found was an empty cell. Collins Juma, along with 12 other detainees, all undocumented Eritrean migrants, had vanished. They had reportedly cut through the wire mesh ceiling of the cell's basking bay and scaled the perimeter wall. The immediate focus was not on the ingenuity of the inmates but on the profound failure of the officers on duty. The ensuing police response was perhaps the most damning indictment of all. Acting National Police Chief Gilbert Masengeli did not mince words. Preliminary investigations, he confirmed, indicate that the escape was aided by insiders. 8 police officers, including the area and station commanders, were immediately suspended and arrested. The nation's top security officials had effectively admitted that the man suspected of murdering 42 women had walked free with the direct complicity of the very individuals sworn to guard him. The outrage that followed was swift, furious, and widespread. The escape was viewed not just as a security lapse but as a definitive proof of deep-seated corruption within the police force, a betrayal of the victims, their families, and the entire judicial process. How could a high-value suspect, described by police themselves as a vampire and a psychopath, be allowed to escape from a high-security facility? With the suspected mass killer now back on the streets, the focus shifted to a desperate nationwide manhunt. A cash reward was announced for information leading to his capture. The police, facing international humiliation, mobilized massive resources, recognizing that the continued freedom of Collins Juma would signify an irreparable breach of public confidence. The hunt for the vampire killer became a desperate race to restore institutional dignity. But for the families of the victims, the dozens of women still waiting for justice, the scandal compounded their grief. The prospect of having to face endless court delays, coupled with the possibilities that the man who allegedly confessed to their daughter's murders was now free and potentially posing a threat to other women.